So we have BBC News reporting on the child abuse inquiry. So this is today, just 4 hours ago from my making this. There's a personal testimony, rosary beads there, so I presume it's a Catholic story. 5-year inquiry. Institutions, plural, as we would expect, have seriously failed. Oh dear, to protect children. The Royal Commission, Australia's highest form of public inquiry. More than 8,000 testimonies. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Well done to those people at all those stages who were documenting this, because the toll upon those who are listening with empathy and care, documenting and sifting through and making it known, there's a cost to everyone. There should be a cost to all of us, because the highest cost is paid by the children and as they grow up, and the least we can do is bear witness. And if I talk about the name Jehovah's Witnesses, how important it is to witness, it is important to bear witness to people's suffering. Accusations covered churches, schools and sports clubs. I would think those would be orphanages as well, over decades. More than 400 recommendations. Where does that come up? Catholic Church overhaul celibacy rules. Whoops, that's not going to go well. That won't happen, because the Catholic Church doesn't want there to be spouses and children that would have property rights, basically. It's not the case of a few rotten apples. Society's major institutions have seriously failed. Final report that was released today added 189 recommendations to the 220 that have already been made public. The proposals will now be considered by legislators. Now that's very important. Prime Minister of Australia said a national tragedy had been exposed. There's letters from survival. You can say, look at that in the child's writing. Please be kind to children. Don't tell lies. Children got it straight, you know. Who did the inquiry speak to? You've got the scope of the inquiry. Prosecutions have come from it. Calls, over 41,000 calls. 60,000 survivors may be eligible for compensation. There's no way you can really compensate, but people need blooming psychological treatment. Some can't work. They just aren't able to leave their house. That costs money. Society is already costing society as well. Each time that these mistakes are made, that's too kind a word for it. Everyone loses, and the broader society does, with these precious people and all the potential that we lose. Written accounts, 57 public hearings. Oh, look at now the Catholic Church abused 4,400 religious ministers and school teachers. The greatest number in Catholic institutions. Now, proportionately as well, that needs to be seen, like what proportion of Australia are Catholic compared with Jehovah's Witnesses and Anglican. The percentage is important, I would think, to look at. Catholic Church abused 4,400 children in Australia. Anglican Church receives 1,115 abuse complaints. Jehovah's Witness Church hid 1,000 alleged abusers. And I'm going to keep saying 58% of those of those 1,006 known abusers confess to their elders. Okay, I'm going to keep saying that. Catholic clerics should face criminal charges if they fail to report sexual abuse disclosed to them during confession. That's going to be difficult to sort. So we're going to see at the Vatican. I can't see the Vatican changing that. I mean, I was brought up a Catholic, and this whole celibacy, that's just not going to happen. I mean, even when losing priests, they wouldn't change the celibacy rules because it does cost them having. They would have more priests if that didn't exist. So I'm just scrolling through for you to see, but you can look at it yourself. Making it mandatory to report abuse. There's an aspect of your own personal integrity. Now, this was interesting. How have institutions reacted as we relate to Watchtower? Many leaders of institutions admitted failures and apologized to victims on behalf of the groups. It doesn't, what's an apology worth? Actually, it can help a bit for some people with healing. It's not the complete story, but it will help some people for part of their healing, okay? It is important, you know, and it's going to vary. The reaction to that is going to vary from victim to victim or survivor to survivor. Might be a better way to describe people. So we have the Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference, Archbishop, the president of that, Archbishop Dennis Hart, offered an unconditional apology. I know the Uniting Church, I did a video on that, have already offered an apology. It's a shameful past. So this is the Catholics, the almighty Catholics. Shameful past in which a prevailing culture of secrecy and self-protection led to unnecessary suffering for many victims and their families. Rejecting and changing the rules of compassion. The most senior Anglican figure, I've not come across him before, Melbourne Archbishop Dr. Philip Freyer, apologised for our failures and by the shameful way we sometimes actively worked against and discouraged those who came to us and reported abuse. There has been no apology from Watchtower anywhere. Watchtower, get yourselves sorted and apologise. You won't, but if you are God's only channel, you would be the first to apologise. What would Jesus do? I know it's an old question, but what would Jesus do? He's supposed to be the leader. What would he do? Would he just leave those children in darkness without a word of comfort? No. So there you are. There's going to be lots for you to look up today.